Thanks, Janet. And thanks for joining us for the first annual Watershed Counts report. Thanks to Senator Sosnowski and to Representative Handy and all our legislators for your ongoing leadership for resource management, to Governor Chafee for acting upon the integral connection between environment and our economy, and all the agencies and organizations who work tirelessly on management efforts and who've been key partners in Watershed Counts. Watershed Counts is an unprecedented cooperative effort of 34 agencies and organizations who've come together to provide accessible information on the health of the environment to this important body and to the public. As a matter of fact, anybody here who's been part of the Watershed Counts effort, could you raise your hand? So look around and get to know these people. They are the soldiers in the trenches on whose work we all depend. We've come together to report on the condition of our land and water resources. We know Narragansett Bay and our watersheds are changing, and those changes need to be tracked and understood. Some of the change is positive. With legislative support, Rhode Island made a strong commitment to reduce nitrogen pollution to the Upper Bay through upgrades at wastewater treatment facilities. And many of us here also celebrated the completion of the Narragansett Bay Commission's combined sewer overflow tunnel project, abating the release of untreated sewage into the bay. As you know, in 2004, the Rhode Island General Assembly had the foresight to pass the Comprehensive Watershed and Marine Monitoring Act, which established the Bays, Rivers, and Watersheds Coordination Team, of which the Rhode Island Environmental Monitoring Collaborative is a standing committee. During the past years, the collaborative has developed a state monitoring strategy, which was implemented to better understand our water quality protection, fisheries and wildlife management, habitat restoration, and coastal management. Today's report builds on the monitoring collaborative's work. But we can't lose sight of the fact that all of this, good and bad, is happening against a backdrop of climate change, which is already a reality in the Narragansett Bay region and will intensify in the years to come. We see increases in air and water temperatures, rising sea level, and increasing rainfall and storm intensity, resulting in more inland flooding. We all remember a year ago when the Warwick Mall was underwater. Bay surface temperature up 3 degrees. Sea level up by 8 inches at the Newport tide gauge since 1930. It may not sound like much, but this trend will accelerate, causing widespread shoreline erosion and flooding during high tides and coastal storms, especially during hurricanes and nor'easters. The legislature, state and local agencies, and NGOs have made adaptation to climate change a priority. The Climate Risk Reduction Act, passed by the General Assembly in 2010, created the Rhode Island Climate Change Commission and charged it with studying and reporting on climate change and adaptation strategies. The Coastal Resources Management Council has taken the lead on researching climate change, implementing climate policy, and supporting adaptation strategies with many partners across the state. CRMC's Ocean SAMP stands as a model for the nation. So climate change is here, and Rhode Island is taking action. Why? Well, for starters, Rhode Islanders love their beaches, which are also an important part of the region's tourism economy. Beach closures hurt our quality of life and impact tourism. Closures are closely linked to rainfall, and remember that's going up because stormwater runoff is a significant source of bacteria to many beaches. Since 2001, our beaches have received over $2 million in federal money, driving over $10 million in remediation by cities, towns, and private beach owners. This amount does not include the state and federal support for the Providence CSO Tunnel Project. All of this has resulted in a 36% decrease in beach closures since 2006. It's important for Rhode Island to acknowledge the work completed to improve beaches and continue with a vigorous monitoring program. Here's the bottom line. Our beaches are improving, but we still have beaches with water quality problems. We're doing a good job of monitoring and responding, but we need to stay vigilant and address stormwater runoff carrying pollutants to beaches. And what contributes to stormwater runoff? Impervious cover. Impervious cover is hard surfaces such as roads, driveways, and roofs. Rainwater runs off into storm drains, heads to rivers, ponds, and to the bay, carries pollutants, forces beach closures, and worsens flooding downstream. 14% of the Narragansett Bay watershed is under impervious cover. That's over 140,000 football fields. And it's increased by almost 45% between 1972 and 1999. It's a significant cause of the polluted stormwater that damages our lakes, streams, and the bay, and costs us a lot of money when we have to build things like the CSO tunnel. In 2007, you passed the Smart Development for a Cleaner Bay Act, raising Rhode Island's stormwater runoff standards. DEM and CRMC have worked together to assist cities and towns to control impervious cover. One good outcome is the protection of freshwater resources. These provide water for a wide range of uses. Drinking water, of course, as well as industry, agriculture, and public safety, such as firefighting. We're lucky in that we experience ample rainfall that supports our freshwater system of groundwater aquifers, rivers, streams, and lakes. However, there is a limit to this resource. In some suburban communities, summertime demand is 2 to 3 times higher than winter demand. Okay, maybe in August we're a little thirstier, but most of that water goes to watering lawns, and that's now an unsustainable practice. Increasingly, in areas where the water supply comes from groundwater aquifers, more water is pumped out than is returned by rain. Several watersheds in Rhode Island are stressed by the over-withdrawal of water. Essentially, they reach drought conditions during non-drought years. In 2009, the legislature passed the Water Use and Efficiency Act to promote sustainable management of our water resources, and we look for continued progress. Another area where progress is imperative, invasive species. When plants or animals are released in areas outside their native range without their natural predators, they can grow out of control, destabilize the environment, harm native species, and disrupt human activities. Rhode Island has freshwater aquatic invasives in over 70 lakes and ponds, affecting ecological balance, impairing boating, fishing, and swimming, and reducing lakeside property values. On the terrestrial side, we have bittersweet, barberry, gypsy moths. They choke out native species, ruin scarce pasture land, damage valuable timber, and alter our classic Rhode Island landscape. And let's talk about cost. Take, for example, just one little bug, the Asian longhorn beetle, found up in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is in the Narragansett Bay watershed. Forests had to be destroyed to prevent there becoming a pathway for the beetle to spread. The cost, $62 million. To protect our valuable environmental and economic assets, Rhode Island needs to keep informed, be vigilant, and have response plans ready. One bug, $62 million. With your support, we're making progress. We must continue putting critical legislation in place to manage our land and water resources. Watershed counts will keep bringing updates. Next year, we'll report on progress being made in other areas, such as our goal of 50% reduction of nitrogen entering Narragansett Bay and the protection of critical resource lands. So now I'd like to point out some people here who are going to be ready to answer your questions, and if you could just put your hand up when I name you. Jim Boyd from the CRMC for climate change, Amy Paris and Lauren Russo from the Department of Health for Beaches, Allison Hamill from the Department of Transportation for impervious cover, Elisa Richardson from the Department of Environmental Management for freshwater resources, and David Gregg from the Rhode Island Natural History Survey for invasive species. We're here as your resource. And remember, watershed counts. Thanks, everybody.